All right, so we're back. I am doing this as a bit more of a mobile broadcast, if you will, because I want to be able to show you guys some of what's happening now. And unfortunately, I can't really do that with my computer. So I'm hoping everyone can hear me. I'm hoping you can see me. And at this point, I'm flipping the camera and showing you guys my current brew. You'll have to bear with me on some of the sounds, some of the noise you're hearing. That is my propane burner doing its thing. But right now, you take a look and you'll see a hot break happening. It's the hot break, and there's a couple different ways to take care of this. The hot break is when you're getting pretty close to boil, and this foam starts to form on the top here. This foam is the proteins basically getting all excited and getting pushed out of the liquid. What that's going to do, though, is after a little bit of time, that is going to drop back in. But in this time period, we have to be careful that it's not going to overflow and, pretty much make a mess everywhere. So a couple different ways to do this, keeping it moving, keeping the liquid, being able to, have some oxygen and get, have some breathing room. Keeping it moving helps with the reabsorption, but also controlling the temperature. And if you start to see it flare up, go ahead and back off on your temperature so you can keep it under control. Now, this is something that I'm looking to upgrade. I have currently a propane system, and it's on a turkey fryer. And this here dial is a pretty much safety precaution that they have in there for when you're, boiling oil and things like that. You don't want it to go for too long. So about every 10, 15 minutes, I need to spin that to make sure that it keeps going. So I'm seeing my hot break here getting up to about, getting a little thicker, starting to, connect together. Sorry about that. And I'm going to go ahead and back off the heat a little bit. Starting to see some boil happening here, but I'm not quite happy with that level of a boil to call that boil start at this point. I'm going to back off the heat just a little bit. And oh man, you can definitely start to see it starting to foam up there now. All right, I'm going to back off the heat a little bit more. And by that, I mean I'm just turning down how much. Oh, see, it's starting to boil over a little bit. Okay, backing off. Now, like I said, there's two schools of thought here. Usually I can control this a little bit better, but I'm trying to talk to you and do this at the same time. So there's two schools of thought here. The first being that a little bit of boil over is okay, but you want to try to have this reabsorb as much as possible. That's my school of thought, is you want to have the hot break reabsorb if you can. Another school of thought, just ditch it. Throw it out, throw it over the side, into a bucket, into the sink, and you don't really need the hot break. You don't have to worry about it reabsorbing or anything like that. It's not important. For me, I look at it as that is more potential proteins that can convert into be converted into alcohol. That there's sugars, that there's complex sugars that can be converted into alcohol, and I don't like the idea of losing those as part of it. So now we have a little bit more of a rolling boil. As you can see, our hot break is under control. Let's get it out of the spider there real quick. Now I'm comfortable saying that this is the start of my boil. Now, we talked about this before, this being a 60-minute boil. And here's my first top addition. We're doing that at 60 minutes. And So let me talk about this hop spider for a second while I do this. Hop spider is a mesh container that goes inside of your boil kettle here and allows you to have hop additions, but at the same time, at the end of it, you can pull that spider out and the majority of the hop material will come with it. Utilization is barely affected with that, and you still get all those good bittering hops and everything, but you don't have to worry as much about boil over or when you're trying to drain out, transferring those hops into your next vessel. So I've added that. I'm going to go ahead and I need to go ahead and start a timer here for myself so we can so you guys can only hear me for the moment. Sorry about that. All right. So like I said, we need to start a timer because this is a 60-minute boil, and at certain points, certain things need to happen. So for this one, it's fairly simple. 60 minutes, first hop addition. 40 minutes later, at 20 minutes left, I'm going to have to throw in my next hop addition, which is somewhere. My Cascade, as we talked about before. And then I'm also at that time going to throw in my Whirlflock. It's a little bit early because it usually says within 15 minutes of the end of the boil, but 20 minutes won't be the end of the world. And that's what's going to, like I said, help with dropping out those proteins so we don't transfer those over. So let me show you what one of those looks like. This is Whirlflock. It's this little tablet. And you drop that in there. You don't have to stir or anything. The boil action will go ahead and take care of that. And you will, I'm sorry, you can see my. So once you do that and you have that boil action going, then you will, then it'll be able to do its job. No big deal there. Now, prior to boil, I did go ahead and use my refractometer, which is this guy here, to test my, what's called pre-boil gravity. So my pre-boil gravity for this was targeted at 1044, and I measured it out at about 1042, which is pretty close. Pretty good efficiency with the mash tun and everything. And so as part of the boil process, we're going to see how close we can get to our target original gravity, which we talked about before was in our previous stream was 1052. So let me go ahead and also invite Jason here. So he can join in on the fun too. And it looks like we might be getting a guest here. Couple guests. My little dogs and wives. Hey, Jason. You there? You just turned on the sparge? You seeing the brew dogs?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Just showed my hot break and slight boil over because I was trying to explain the hot break while taking care of it. And my hop spider, which I don't know if you got a chance to see yet in action, but there it is.
Oh.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Do that later on, yeah.
Huh.
Okay.
Hey, there.
See if that helps.
What's
better?
Up? Yeah, I think a little bit better. You were starting
better?
Yeah, a little bit better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Looks like a nice warm day in Virginia right now.
It's not bad. It's about 75 here. And,
you dog, dude.
I hate them.
That's not fair.
So we're taking a little bit of a break here. Once now that I have the boil going and watching the corgis run.
Dogs?
No.
Oh, look at that. This is not fair.
Yeah.
Look how
Oh.
greedy.
Yeah.
I
You
can't.
got a whole big yard to run around in.
Yeah, I can't wait for the
Yeah,
green to come.
Yeah.
not too bad here. So, okay, Jason, I'm going to go ahead and hop out for a second while you take this second to show where you are in the process, and I'll join you back in probably about 5 minutes.
Are we broadcasting right now?
We are.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm in.
All right, cool.
What's going on, everybody? Cheers. Welcome to my brew setup. I'm currently in the middle of an APA brew day. I'm in the middle of a sparge, and I'm going to show my setup here real quick. Bear with me. I'm just getting the hang of the equipment I've got here. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, my setup is nothing all that complicated and nothing fancy electronic wise. Got a cooler on top for a hot liquor tank, mash tun right here, and in the middle of fly sparging right now, or at least a version of fly sparging, without any kind of like rinsing mechanism. It's just a slow flow of water from the hot liquor tank, and just vorloffing from the mash tun down into the boil kettle. So everything is going well so far in the brew day. And once we're all drained out, we'll take the readings and see where everything's at. One other key part of the setup here, actually, a couple other key parts. Use a regular propane burner, just very similar to what George had showed earlier on in the broadcast. Propane tanks, regular immersion chiller that'll come later on in the brew day. We have this fridge here, and I got a little story to tell about this fridge because let's face it, no brew day is complete without a beer or two. And this fridge here from General Electric, manufactured in 1947, was handed down to me at the time that George packed up here in Illinois and moved out to Virginia. So it's had a good home here in Darien, Illinois since, and look forward to many brew days to come. And last but not least, I'll introduce my lovely girlfriend, Candy. Say hi, Candy.
Hi.
She's joining me for the first time on a brew day, and she's learning all the good stuff and enjoying a peanut butter porter in the process too.
Yes, delicious.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, that's that. I'm going to get back to brewing here. We're going to we're going to come back to the broadcast at boil time, and I'll give a further update then. So I'm guessing it can see me right now. I'm not sure though. There it is. Before I sign off, it takes a lot of good beer to make great beer. Cheers.
Hey, did we lose Jason in this mix? All right, we're still doing good here. We'll see where Jason went off to. Hopefully he was able to show his setup to everybody. We're about 12 minutes into the boil. That's a good solid boil. I'm very happy with that. So I posted some pictures up to Instagram about the process here, but like I said, I have this party cooler that I cut this hole into, and I put this Innova sous vide system in. So sous vide system is a system for cooking things inside plastic bags, without, cooking them on a stove or anything or a grill. The idea being that everything that's in that bag, it will be the exact temperature you want it to be. So if you're making a pork chop, let's say a pork chop and you want it at 145 or a pork roast, you can put it in a sealed plastic bag, you can put it in the water, and you can put it at 145 degrees, and you can leave it there for about an hour, and then it will be cooked through at 145 degrees. You can then sear it on a grill and serve it, and it's usually pretty tasty. What I use it for is making sure that my water gets the exact temperature that I want it to. So in this case, it'd be about 100 and I did 3 different temperatures. One was about 135, 183, and 168 for my sparge water. And so I get it up close, and then I let the Innova take it up to the exact temperature that I want it to be. So then, I did my mash, my two infusions in the mash, and you can see, if you look inside here, you can see all the spent grains and everything, and it really smells very good. If you've not done it before, it's really awesome, and you either like it or you hate it. Like my wife personally, she hates the smell of brewing grains. Irreconcilable differences, but we made it work. And then I have this down here, and like I said, this is the hop spider, and everything like that. And also, your spare propane tank just in case. So, turning the old dial. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sit down here and just talk a little bit about how everything kind of came out. Like I said, I hit my pre-boil gravity the way I wanted to, and actually I had a little bit more liquid than I was expecting. I have a feeling that's due to the profile I was using, which I kind of cribbed off of Jason's profile a little bit, and I think there's a little bit more loss in his system than there is mine. No, I'm sorry, a little bit less. So what that means is that I'm probably going to have a little bit less liquid than I am shooting for in the long run, but it should only be less than a quarter gallon. So we're not talking about something that I'm going to lose, a gallon of liquid or anything like that. I did start out with about 6.5 gallons of liquid, and in the end, that should mean that I should have about between 4.5 and 5 gallons once it goes into the keg. I'm going to lose a decent amount here. And then you have a concept called chiller loss, which as the liquid cools, it shrinks. That's relatively minimal, but it does exist. So you got to take it into account. And then we have fermenter loss, which with the fermenter that I'm using, if you don't have a lot of proteins and things that drop out, to fill up the mason jar on the bottom, then you're going to end up with some liquid loss as well. So I usually lose about a quarter gallon there. So that all gets taken into account. And at the end of the day, I have the, like I said, the total losses that then go into my keg. I did skip a step there, but what I typically do is we'll sanitize that carboy I showed earlier and cold crash, meaning that I will I'll rack my beer over. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, I'll rack my beer over to that carboy, and then I'll stick it in my keezer for 1 to 3 days, depending. And what that does is it will just drop everything to the bottom. And then from there, I can rack off of that into my keg. And I can be pretty sure that what I'll have is the cleanest beer that I can, given the equipment that I have. I don't have any filtering equipment or anything like that. I do want to do that at some point in the future. But for now, I don't unfortunately have that. So it's the best I can do. But it has produced some pretty clear, if unfiltered beer that has been, pretty impressive in competition settings and things like that. As fans of the podcast may know, I'm not a big fan of competitions when it comes to BJCP and having things conform exactly to style, because I'm just not a big fan of trying to push things to conform exactly to style. I like experimenting with my beer, and I like the idea that I can, try things that are a little outside the norm and produce results that are, equally as impressive, but aren't exactly what BJCP says an APA should be. At some point, I'm probably, as I'm looking forward into the future and considering the idea of maybe going pro or semi-pro on this, I probably will turn my attention towards doing more competitions. And Jason, I'm sorry, Jason just said he's here, but I don't see him. I might have to invite him again. Let me finish that thought before I do. I may turn my attention towards more competitions and honing my style and making sure that as I look towards potentially opening a brewery, that if someone comes in looking for an IPA, that I know I can produce an IPA that will meet their expectations. That's the goal. And so but in the meantime, like I said, I'm amateur verging on semi-professional, and for now I'm having fun, and I'm producing what I think is a good quality product that I enjoy drinking, and I know other people have as well. So let me take a break and invite Jason back in. Guys are seeing my scruffy self, but to be perfectly honest, what homebrewer isn't a little scruffy sometimes? So that's not too bad, right? Yeah. And no, not a sponsorship for more beer. This was I needed $5 to get free shipping, which shipping to my place is usually $25 to $30. So I thought, wasting $5 on a hat was a better idea than spending $25 on shipping. I'd rather get something, even if it's a ridiculous hat, than get nothing. Just get shipping, which I can get for free for $5. So I know it sounds weird, free for $5, but I think you know what I mean. Still, it makes more sense. All right. there is anybody out there listening actively right now, feel free to ask any questions that you would like, and we'll be happy to answer them on air as we can. And if not, if afterwards you're listening to this or watching this, then like I said before, feel free to subscribe. We're going to try to do more of these on a pretty regular basis. I think we're shooting for probably Thursday nights every other week to do our podcast and have it be live streamed out for you guys to see if you're so inclined. So subscribe to us and leave reviews on iTunes and Stitcher and those places. It really helps the show and helps to give us some feedback on how we're doing. So Jason still seems to be having some issues. Jason, are you there? All right. Well, Jason's having some trouble showing up here, and let's see how I'm doing. So let's see how I'm doing with my boil here. Still a pretty good boil. Hop Spider's doing its job. Boil's doing well. Go ahead and reset my timer here. I'm going to go ahead and turn up. Oh, no, never mind. I was going to turn up the temperature a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with how that's going. All right. Well, I think for now, I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream. I'll try to check in with you guys later, and hopefully Jason and I can be a little bit more in sync with our conversation to you guys, and we'll so thank you again for tuning in. Like I said, if you've made it this far, feel free to subscribe, and we'll be coming at you with new, hopefully better and interesting things for you guys to see. So thank you for tuning in.